The Philadelphia Eagles supercharged their pass rush by selecting Chop Robinson in our 2024 NFL Redraft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I'm Damian Parson. That's Keith Sanchez. And on today's episode, we're closing out our 2024 NFL Redraft. We're going to close the show out with picks 29 through 32. We're going to talk about picks 26 through 28 in the middle of the show. We're going to kick it off with picks 22 through 25. Keith, in our 2024 NFL Redraft at pick 22, the Philadelphia Eagles select Chop Robinson, edge rush out of Penn State. At pick 23, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected, you gave them Xavier Worthy, wide receiver out of Texas. At pick 24, I gave the Detroit Lions cornerback Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. And at pick 25, you gave the Green Bay Packers offensive tackle JC Latham out of Alabama, who went to the Tennessee Titans. Keith, let's start at the top. Eagles fans probably like, man, why Chop Robinson? You guys have a type at edge. You got a type, and Chop Robinson is that type, right? They've had Josh Sweat. They had Bryce Huff. They've always had these athletic, not the biggest body types as the true edge rusher on their teams, right? I think probably the strongest guy off the edge was Nolan Smith, Nolan coming out of Georgia. He was a more power play. He was a really explosive athlete, too. He ran 4.4 or whatever it was, like 4.44 in the 40-yard dash and everything at the combine. So we know he's an explosive athlete, but he was more of a power player than the true just speed, just explosive pass rusher. I think adding a Chop Robinson, a guy who specializes in getting to the quarterback, I think that would have helped this defense a lot anyway. And just having that guy long term. We don't know what's going to happen with Nolan and everything. Does he get a contract extension? All this type of stuff like that. But they have a type, and looking at it, Chop Robinson is absolutely that type. He's that first step quickness, explosive pass rusher. He might just be a DPR early on after he's drafted to Philadelphia, because they always keep a rotation of guys to keep guys' legs fresh, and that mitigate some of the run defensive concerns with him coming out. So I felt like this would have been a really good fit.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like you said, you talked about the Nolan Smiths of the world. I mean, even Brandon Graham, right, for long was undersized, edge rusher, defensive lineman. I think weight-wise, he matched, right?
Yeah.
Your guy, but as far as
280.
height, he kind of sawed-off type of guy. And Chop, it doesn't have the weight, but I thought he was a sawed-off type of player in a sense, but they also kind of like developmental pieces. If you point to Nolan Smith, right? Nolan Smith was was a guy that I had not a late round pick. I wound up with like a 4th round pick, and that's the developmental traits part, right?
Yeah.
And I think the same for Chop, right? When you look at the explosive first step, things like that, playing with a violent temperament, but just the natural pass rusher instincts was something that needed to be curated, I guess, if I'm using big words, right? It needed to be curated. And so I understand that pick, DP, but I wanted to keep going, right? Let's go with Xavier Worthy. The very next pick, Xavier Worthy to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That fit, I thought about it. Obviously, they selected Brian Thomas in that position, right? Brian Thomas was off the board because this is a redraft, right? And I think Brian Thomas can give them similar type of, Xavier Worthy can give them similar type of looks, right? Because they drafted Brian Thomas to kind of be a vertical stretch guy. And I'm like, okay, cool. Your vertical stretch guy is off the board, but go get the fastest player in the draft, right? Go get the fastest player in the NFL draft history, right? I mean, maybe Deion Sanders may have something to say about that, right?
Yeah.
But draft him, and I think that schematically it still fits, right? That he can take the top off, do those type of things. So I thought it was an easy replacement when I looked at it from that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense too, because at the same time, like, you got a big arm quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, a guy that can push the ball down the field, off of play action, things like that. They want to get vertical. And the guy, Xavier Worthy's speed absolutely fills it. And, does it, because he's kind of built similar to, I think he might be a little thinner. I don't know. It might be similar size now, because I look like from the offseason workout, looks like Xavier Worthy's putting more muscle in his frame, but similar build to Travis Hunter. you know what I mean, and everything like that. So, and I think in this offense that, talking to Wig over at Locked On Jags, he's talking about how this offense is a wide receiver kind of friendly offense that they're running in Jacksonville. So like, hey, because going to Kansas City for Xavier Worthy, there was so much pressure heaped on that young man.
To be the number one,
to be the great deep threat that they've missed.
Honestly, and to fill the shoes of Tyreek Hill, right? Because with people on a very surface level, right? When they just, casual NFL fans, right? They just say, okay, cool, Tyreek Hill is fast. We lost him. We drafted the fastest guy. Should be an easy replacement, right? And people that understand Tyreek Hill, there's so many different elements into who Tyreek Hill was as a player. So I agree with you, because I think the pressure of replacing Tyreek Hill was also a thing within this offense, which are tall shoes to fill. I also looked at it like this, DP. When I made the selection, that they have guys like Parker Washington, who not speed guys, right? One of the reasons why he fell in the draft, I believe he ran a really slow 40 time, was not fast at all. If I'm not mistaken, you need a complimentary piece, right? Like they drafted another big body guy, because I thought about the Keon Coleman's of the world and stuff like that in the selection, but I was like, nah, they need some speed. They still need that vertical threat.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage of Keon's career, I don't know if he goes second round the way things have played out. You know what I mean? We're gonna talk about at the end of this show about this draft class overall, Keith. But definitely like those fits. The Packers getting JC Latham, I love that. I feel like that makes sense for Green Bay. Like they're a team that typically Green Bay. I feel like Green Bay, Dallas. There's a few teams that really prioritize offensive line play and in the trenches, you know what I mean? And because what they ended up drafting Jordan Morgan recently out of Arizona a couple drafts ago and stuff like that. I mean, he might have been in the same class if I can't remember if he was in this class or not, but like they don't mind adding guys to their offensive line room and getting a JC Latham, a physical power player that's going to be able to move bodies in the run game, and that they like to run the football. You're talking about JC Latham, that cast of guys on that offensive line, Mike LaFleur's run game and concepts, and it's December. It's frigid temperatures. It's in Green Bay. It's cold. It's like, you're going to have to strap your chin strap tight. Make sure every pad is buckled. Everything is locked in, because you're about to be in a dogfight, and they're going to run the football and be physical and everything. I think JC Latham gives them that. And I mean, you look at they lost Elton Jenkins through free agency. He goes to Cleveland. He played center and guard, things like that. They got Zach Tom. They also lost Rasheed Walker, but that's because of the Jordan Morgan pick, where it's like, hey, we got Zach Tom, we got Jordan Morgan. Those guys can more than likely play tackle and everything. We'll see who's the five starting the season, but I really like that fit with JC Latham to the Packers.
Yep. Round this out, DP. We had Graham Barton to the Buccaneers. How do you feel about that?
That's next group, Keith.
Oh, DP, I pulled. Listen, I pulled the you on you, man.
You pulled me on me.
It gave up one of the picks for the next segment. So you know what that means, DP. It's time to transition and get into it, DP. Coming up next, we have the Bucs, we have the Cardinals, we have the Chiefs. And we're going to squeeze in. Nope, we're going to leave the Cowboys for the next segment, right? So we have the Bucs, the Cardinals, and the Chiefs. Listen, we have two offensive linemen and a wide receiver that went off the board to the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll discuss that coming up next.
The NHL playoffs are here and in full swing, where every shift matters. Every moment is intense, and the pressure is at its highest. And just like performance matters on the ice, it matters off the ice too. That's where Rougit comes in. Rougit offers treatments designed to help you get ready and stay ready when it matters most. Their top option, Rougit Ready, combines clinically proven ingredients in a simple mint that dissolves underneath your tongue. It works fast, often in about 15 minutes, and can last up to 36 hours. And they also offer Go Long, designed to help you with both performance and control. Guys, it's all about confidence and feeling like yourself again. So head to Rougit.com/LockedOnNHL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off. Rougit, performance medicine for men. breaking down picks 26 through 28 of our 2024 redraft. But guys, get your daily dose of the Locked On NFL Draft Fix ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club today. Start your 7-day free trial right now and get closer to your team without the interruptions. Click the link in the show notes to go to Locked On NFL Draft.supercast.com to claim your free trial. Keith, at pick 26, you alluded to it, Keith. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we went right back. I gave him Graham Barton, who I believe they drafted in real life, the offensive lineman.
Yep.
At pick 27, you gave the Arizona Cardinals Tyler Guyton, who went to the Dallas Cowboys, offensive tackle. At pick 28, Keith, I gave the Kansas City Chiefs Ladd McConkey. And real quick, before we jump into those picks, Detroit Lions fans don't want to leave y'all hanging. It was Nate Wiggins that we didn't get a chance to talk about.
That's what I knew it was another person. I was trying to figure out.
Need another corner. Terrion's been really up and down and everything like that. So
in
I don't know
Rick Straw situation.
In this Rick Straw, he just snake bitten by injuries and things like that. I think Nate Wiggins bringing that speed, the coverage ability, playmaking, things of that nature that he's brought to Baltimore. I think especially with a team that has a little bit more of a pass rush in Detroit than Baltimore's had over the past couple of years. That's why they went and got Trey Hendrickson and Mike Green and all those guys to try and bolster that pass rush for the Detroit Lions, getting Nate Wiggins, a guy who already had went in the first round. You get him a little bit earlier than he was able to go to, I think, pick 30 to the Baltimore Ravens. So, wanted to go ahead and don't let the Lions fans feel left out, Keith. They're like, oh, man, you ain't talking about what we got. Like, no,
listen, that's why I made a mistake and revealed the Graham Barkley, because I knew there was 4. I was counting.
It was 4. Yeah. That's all good, Keith. Let's talk 28. And I gave the Chiefs Ladd McConkey, Keith. And Xavier Worthy, who that was the guy that they would have picked and everything, that they ended up picking. Ladd McConkey should have probably been a first-round pick, to be completely honest, Keith, compared to we saw Xavier Legette, who has nowhere near panned out in Carolina. Ricky Pearsall, if he stays healthy, he's the wide receiver 1 in San Fran, but he consistently gets hurt and he can't stay on the field. Ladd McConkey, route running specialist, got to create separation. He's going to get open. He's a security blanket. And honest to God, because of the fact that he could play that Z somewhat, play the zero, I view him more as a pure slot. That kind of allows me to move a Rashee Rice before things hit the fan. Like, I know it's revisionist history, but if you tell me, okay, Rashee Rice, Ladd McConkey, who would I rather have in terms of skill sets? It's Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey's a better athlete. He's a better route runner. He's a better separator. For me, when I look at Rashee Rice, I like Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice benefits a lot because of that scheme and how they match him up against linebackers. In other offenses, you're not getting matched up against linebackers and safeties probably 70% of your receiving reps, right? Was it what year was that, last year or the year before, when they opened the season up against Baltimore and he's out there whooping up on Roquan Smith? And I'm like, this ain't even a fair fight. Like, how does this keep happening? You know what I mean? Like, where I look at Ladd, and Ladd is more translatable to other offenses and other roles and everything. I think Ladd would be that security blanket for Pat Mahomes. 3rd and 10, 3rd and 5, he knows Ladd's going to get open. And when Andy Reid calling plays, pre-snap motion, keeping them away from press coverage, things like that, I absolutely think Ladd McConkey would be a home run fit for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm going as far as to say this, DP. In a twisted way, he could be the Travis Kelce replacement. And what I mean by that is Travis Kelce doesn't win because he's the most athletic guy, right? Especially at this age in his career. He wins because he's always on the same page with Patrick Mahomes. He's a high IQ player that understands tempo and route running. Ladd McConkey is the same way. And that's how they both, and that's how they're able to dominate in the middle of the field. So what I'm saying is that obviously Ladd McConkey won't play tight end. I'm not saying that he'll be a replacement from the tight end position, but that middle of the field operator, right? As Travis Kelce, leaves, you start thinking about the New England Patriots, right? And how they have those slot wide receivers and how important they were. Ladd McConkey is a souped up version of that because he's a 4.3 40-yard dash guy, right? And so I look at it and that's why I make the statement is that when it comes to having those middle of the field operators, I think he can be that, DP. I think he can be the guy like, you know what, let's pass the baton to Ladd McConkey. We still have to draft a tight end, but that middle of the field operator that I really trust when it's those 3rd and 5s and they sending blitzes and things like that, and I just need to get the football out my hands quick. I need to throw the ball hot. Ladd McConkey could be that player. So in hindsight, I would really like this selection. And I agree with you. Even if they had Rashee Rice, because drafting Rashee Rice, let's just say this, pre-draft, there were question marks, right? And so in hindsight now, you kind of just got what you got out of pre-draft, right? Like just what was talked about pre-draft.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, like maybe potentially doubling down and stuff like that. And then when you look at that versus the Xavier Worthy, I'm not surprised both guys' career has kind of somewhat turned out the way it has been, right? It's one of those, the bet on traits versus betting on film, right? In the sense of the fact that Xavier Worthy was the faster guy, right? And explosive element, you buy into that, man, speed kills. But when you watch Ladd McConkey, you can see that this young man, he just gets it, right? Like just like there's not I don't even know if there's a trait for that, right? For just getting it, but he just understands it at a high level. So I like the selection.
No, I think like I said, it makes sense, especially putting them in that Rashee Rice role where, you keep them away from the top outside corners, you keep them away from Stingleys and Surtains, and especially in that division, you got to deal with Surtain. Like, keep them away from that guy. You know what I mean? Let's put him in the slot. A lot of defense coordinators don't want their top corners traveling like that. So force their hand. Is either your guy gets into the slot and he plays uncomfortable, or we get favorable matchups every single play in the passing game. And Ladd McConkey will absolutely give you that. And I think, like you said, with Mahomes, with Andy Reid, like that would just be, honestly, they haven't had, in my opinion, they haven't had that type of archetype. Like while Pat Mahomes been there, they had a lot of speed guys. They've had the Rashee Rice, who's more of a power slot. They haven't had that true just slot receiver, that Edelman, that Welker, that Deion Branch type.
Kelsey operates as that. He's not that archetype, right? As far as body type, but he operates as that reliable slot wide receiver. Yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good point. So shout out to them for that, Keith. You gave the Arizona Cardinals Tyler Guyton. I really like that. Especially you're talking about, because right now the right tackle spot is still a spot that they're trying to figure out long term. So it's like you draft him, because who they ended up drafting Darius Robinson. Yeah, if you were able to get Tyler Guyton and you let him play right tackle, you have Tyler Guyton and Paris Johnson long term. And I always say this, Keith, when you have two good young tackles that you can develop and trust on the island, it's like having two lockdown corners. Remember Rex Ryan when he had Cromartie and Revis, and he was like, you know what? I'll leave those guys on the island. I'm blitzing my safeties. Figure it out, offense. And offense has struggled to figure it out, because it's like, you not only you take away my number one, you're also locking down my number two. So it's like, where am I? And now I got to get the ball out hot, stuff like that. We're having two tackles. That allows my center guard trio to double team the best defensive tackle that's on that they're going to deal with, right? Because the quickest path is to the interior offensive line. When we neutralize that threat, and now I leave my other guard one-on-one, like, we got a pocket formed. And our quarterback, who in this situation will still be Kyler Murray, you feel good about it. Like, you feel really darn good about it if you are, because then, like, you think about this in this redraft, Keith. At 4, I gave him Malik Neighbors. At 27, you gave him Tyler Guyton. Kyler Murray might still be the quarterback right now going into the 2026 season with a healthy Malik Neighbors and Tyler Guyton as his right tackle, because now he feels really comfortable in the pocket. I think that's a home run pit for the Cardinals, man, to get a guy that talented, that skilled, that athletic, opposite of a guy who's talented, skilled, and athletic in Paris Johnson, who's their franchise left tackle right now.
Yeah, I mean, you start to simply have an identity, right? And that's what you want at the end of the day. And I think we did a good job, if you're talking about redrafting, we're like, okay, looking in hindsight as far as what the Cardinals were offensively, and it's kind of they didn't have an identity, right? Like, they were just kind of all over the place. And I think doubling, not doubling down, but going to get a wide receiver, doubling down offensively and getting an offensive tackle, like you said, to help complement Paris Johnson. Now it's like, okay, fill in a couple interior offensive line pieces, and then now you have a good offensive line. And it's like, now let's move forward, and we can run the football and we can pass the football, and we've also addressed the playmaker position. But DP, let's do this, man. Those Dallas Cowboys are coming up next. We have the Cowboys, we have the Ravens, we have the 49ers, and the Panthers all on the clock in our 2024 NFL redraft. Let's discuss that coming up next.
Support for today's episode comes from Square. the system that helps fix one of the biggest headaches in running a business. Starting a business is exciting, but actually running it, that's where things can get complicated fast. Payments, inventory, staff, scheduling, online orders. It's a lot to manage. That's why Square brings everything together in one connected system. Square helps you take payments, track sales, manage inventory, and keep your business running smoothly without juggling a bunch of disconnected tools. And as a customer, it's convenient. And from the business side, you can tell it helps owners stay focused on serving people instead of constantly troubleshooting system issues. If you're starting a business or running one that deserves better tools, Square helps you sell, manage, and grow without slowing down. Right now, you can get up to $200 off Square hardware at square.com/go/lockedonnfl. That's SQUARE.com/GO/lockedonnfl. So run your business smarter with Square. Get started today. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you. We're closing this thing out. Pick 29, the Dallas Cowboys. Keith gave them linebacker Edger and Cooper. At pick 30, I gave the Baltimore Ravens Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback out of Alabama. Pick 31, Keith gave the San Francisco 49ers Darius Robinson, who originally went to the Cardinals at pick 31, and I gave the Carolina Panthers, who this was a spot where they traded up for Xavier Leggett. So sticking with the draft order, they still have 32, and I gave the Carolina Panthers Braden Fisk, defensive tackle, defensive lineman out of Florida State, who originally went top of the second round to the Los Angeles Rams. Keith, let's talk about. I'm gonna tell you right now, Keith, you did it again. You sniped me because I was sitting there at 32. And I was like, you know what? Carolina getting Edger and Cooper feels really, really good. Knowing that they need a linebacker. And you know how I felt because this was it was him, Peyton Wilson in this class. We liked the linebacker. He was my top. I think he might have been my top linebacker or one of my top linebackers in this class. I love Edger and Cooper as a prospect. He's done some really good things for the Packers. He goes and fills a void, a need that the Cowboys have had to fill for quite some time.
For a long
Instead of moving safeties that are 220 pounds to play linebacker. Let's get a guy who's like with 240, athletic, can blitz, everybody saw the viral clip when he came out, him Hawk running down. Who was it? Was it Lenore Sellers? I think it might have, I can't remember which quarterback it was in the SEC. It was an explosive run. It might have been Lenore. No, Jalen Milroe. It was Milroe. Milroe.
Yeah,
it was Milroe against Alabama. I was like, who was it? It was Milroe, and he just hawked him down and didn't let him get out the pocket. And I'm like, I saw what Milroe did to Georgia's defense. That's a very difficult task to do, speed-wise. So talk about that fit with Edger and Cooper to the Cowboys, Keith.
Yeah, listen, and our listeners, right? I'm tough on the Cowboys, right? In roster building and roster management, and this has been a position that they've neglected, right? And they've tried to throw anything at the position and
patchwork.
Just say, patchwork, right? And just say that it'll work. And guess what? It's not been happening. It working, right? It's been the exact opposite of working. Like you said, they've tried 215-pound safeties. That doesn't work. They've tried retreads at linebacker. They've tried to pick up guys late in training camp that other teams have cut and said, you know what, you can play this position. No, you need to really invest into the position. They've done it a couple of times in the past, right? They tried with Jalen Smith. They tried with Leighton Vander Esch, right? So it's been a while since they've had a dominant linebacker. And even if you say Micah Parsons, obviously he was an edge rusher, right? At the end of the day. So I think with Edger and Cooper, they draft them and you finally get a true answer to the linebacker position. And then now you have your Mike linebacker and you can start filling out a couple other pieces. But I think if you look in hindsight, it's like, you know what? That linebacker position is actually pretty doggone important, right? And then this is why I tell people at the end of the day, stop trying to degrade positions. Stop trying to say this position doesn't have any value. It doesn't have any value until you need it, right? Until you need it, and then now you value it. So
exactly. No, I love it. I think it made a lot of sense. Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Ravens. This is where they selected Nate Wiggins, getting Kool-Aid McKinstry, who I think he started the season out a little rocky last year for the Saints, but down the stretch, he started to find himself.
Yeah, solid corner.
He started to find himself. And I think, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because is it him and Terrion wasn't in this draft, was he?
Yeah, Terrion was. He was
both of them in the same draft. Mm-hmm. I think at the end of the day, Terrion went before him.
Yep.
But if we I think if we're being honest about what the film said that Kool-Aid was the more consistent corner.
Yeah.
Terrion was the boom or bust prospect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you potentially get an all-pro corner. Kool-Aid was probably the guy where you don't know if he's ever going to be an all-pro, but he'll probably
he's steady.
Yeah, he's steady and may scrape a couple Pro Bowls or two. And if you're looking back on that, right, like kind of the safer bet at the end of the day. And I think the Ravens would be happy with that.
No, 100%. I think he fits that culture. Guy that can play man coverage. I liked, watching his tape last year. I liked him in zone. I felt like he saw the ball better and he can make plays on the ball. Things like he's man down the field. He's still trying to find that comfortability of just turning and locating the ball while he's down the field in man coverage. But I still think he has a good ceiling on him, and I think he would have fit right into that because he's also has good size and good frame on him as well. So being able to fit into that Ravens secondary with who was Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey and all those guys, I think he would have fit in very well. Keith, we're gonna close this thing. I'm gonna jump to Carolina. Braden Fisk. Because we'll close this thing out with this conversation about this class. When I'm sitting there at 32, I was like, who in the world do I give the Carolina Panthers? That makes sense. It can't be Xavier Leggett. It couldn't be Keon Coleman. Ladd McConkey's off the board. Xavier Worthy's gone. I was like, Jesus, what do I give these guys? Couldn't go right. I was like, not running back. And I was like, you know what? Braden Fisk. Because they have Big Derek Brown, who's a power player, physical guy, elite run defender. They don't have that defensive tackle that can get after the quarterback. And no disrespect, that's not Derek Brown's game. He can get back there, Keith, but it's more slow cook. It's more power, strength. It's like, hey, when your wife throws something in the crock pot, it's not going to be ready immediately.
On a Sunday, if it's in the crock pot, you got to wait 8 hours.
She woke up, She woke up in the middle of the night, threw that bad boy on. It'll be ready by 2 p.m., right? Situation like that. He could get back there, but it's going to be a little bit more of a task for him. Where it's like, okay, if he get one of those club moves, like, and it lands, he can get back there quickly. But if a guy makes him have to hand fight and not allow his power immediately engage and take over and overwhelm him, he can it's a slow cook process. Braden Fisk is a quick first step, quickness, slice into the gap, shoot the gap, get into the backfield. That's the guy who specializes in getting after the quarterback from the interior, and pairing him long-term with Derek Brown would have made a lot of sense to me. Like, so on third downs, they still had Ashawn Robinson at the time. Like, you can come, especially if they're gonna run Everose 3-4. I'm putting Ashawn's gonna play the nose tackle. That's his spot. Because crazy enough, Derek Brown does not play nose for Carolina. He plays more 3-4-I. He doesn't play that nose tackle spot. So him and Braden Fisk will be the D-ends in this situation. Put Ashawn at the nose, and now you're gonna have a hard time running against us. And when it does come down to the rush and the passer, I got a guy that I could kick into that 1, 2, or 3 tech spot with Braden Fisk, and now I can collapse the pocket. And that also opens up some opportunities for our edge guys because you're so fixated on keeping our interior rushers from the backfield.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good selection. Real quick, I know we jumped over real quick. I'm going to explain the 49ers pick real quick, and then we'll talk about the synopsis of this class. Darius Robinson had him to the 49ers. He originally went to the Arizona Cardinals, the big defense end from Missouri. I thought this is what my thought was, DP. You draft Mykel Williams before you have to draft Mykel Williams, right? Go ahead and fill that need and fill that void. So I think it fits with the 49ers and what they like because they have a type 2. When you think about it, they draft a lot of 6'5", 6'6", 260-pound defensive ends, right? Like that's their type. And even if they don't draft them, they go seek them in free agency. The Yator Masgratos, the Chase Youngs, right? They go get those type of guys. Drafting Mykel Williams. The list is long as far as them drafting those type of football players. But DP, there was a overall sentiment that we discussed after the redraft. And I want you to get in there. What was your takeaway after we was able to do this redraft?
This class is on notice, Keith.
Yeah.
This class is on notice. Year 3, it's going to be year 3 for this class. Every year, Keith, and we do it just because it's part of the post-draft process of grading classes and stuff like that. Like, man, we really like this guy as a prospect coming out. Like, man, you got him here. Like, that's great value. Get a grade. But truly, the real grades come 3-4 years after you draft, right? Yeah. This class is not going to grade out too well if things don't change, because Man, I looked at like that round one was round one. It was like, okay, cool. But then by the time you get past like pick 20, pick 25, you're like, okay, like where the first rounders at, right? And then, man, you start going through round 2, 3, 4, and 5. You're like, Jesus, this class might be a bust. Like this might be a busted class if guys don't take steps forward this year going into year 3. Guys got to stay healthy. Guys got to perform. This class overall, Keith, it's crazy because we like the consensus killed the 2026 class. Oh, this class isn't any good. This class, all right, cool. Let's have that same energy 3-4 years later with this class because that's what it's looking like right now. We're seeing less and less impact players in this class to where, truthfully, I'm gonna be honest with you, Keith. If things don't change, it's gonna be a couple guys out of this class that going to be forgotten. He's like, oh man, I forgot he was in the league. Like, oh, he's back up somewhere. That's what this class looks like right now.
Yeah, I the way I looked at it, I thought it was very like now looking back on it, it's quarterback driven, right? Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drayton May, Bo Nix, right? Like they're going to anchor this entire class. But then when you look at some question marks, right? The Roma Dunze going so high, Michael Penix going so high, Xavier Worthy, right? We had to have the conversation about that. Amarius Mims, his career is kind of in flux. Chop Robinson, what does he develop into? They're Ricky Pearsall, Xavier Legette, Keon Coleman right at the top of the second round. There's a lot of big name prospects that I think this will be a make or break year for them. And I think as far as rounding out this class is going to determine if this was a great class, right, or just a really good class or a quarterback top heavy class. I think if you remove the quarterbacks from this class, then you start to really say like, I'm not 100% sure about this, right? And so it's a quarterback driven class, which obviously quarterbacks are the cream of the crop. They're the talking point, XYZ. But if you remember going into this class, this was supposed to be one of the all-time classes when it came to a lot of different positions that aren't necessarily working out at the end of the day.
No, 100%, right? Like the fact that Kamari lasted to the second round, him and Cooper DeJean, you know what I mean, was
and all of those guys were in the first round in this redraft, right? Like there were quite a few guys that we pulled. And I think to your point and what you were trying to say is that as we were going through some of the first round, there were some guys that we were trying to even replace, right? Going into the second round, third round, fourth round, looking, it was like, wait, that's the issue. There's not even a lot of depth in this class. Like there's not third rounders that I'm saying for sure, you know what, this guy balled out, I would take him in the first round, right? Like there's not a lot of
the wide receiver class, Keith. That's the one that hurts this class right now the most, right? Like Neighbors injury, we don't know when he's going to be.
What Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be doing. Right. Roma Dunze is a question mark. You said
Brian Thomas Jr. not like him fumbling year 2.
Yeah.
It's just everybody's wondering what the heck happened to you after your strong rookie season. We already know about, like you said, Worthy. We talked about Legette falling out of round 1, which you probably shouldn't have been a round 1 pick for the
DP. Jalen Polk was at the top of this. I think he was done.
Isn't he in New Orleans? Like he got hurt or something like that. He got cut. He got hurt and got cut. Then I got or whatever.
AD Mitchell was the middle of the second round. He's already been traded away from the Indianapolis Colts. Our guy Malachi Corley was, I think, the first pick of the third round, right? Like, so
he's on this like second, third team now. Like,
there's a lot. Jermaine Burton was a third round pick. Roman,
I don't know where he is.
Third round pick.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, bro. This wide receiver class was supposed to be, as the kids say, one of them ones. Keith.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be one of them ones, and right now we don't know if we have one. Like that's just how bad it is because of the injuries and just the inconsistent play from these guys and from the offenses. It's not just going to put on the receivers. You always say the most dependent player on the field. They got to depend on somebody else getting them the ball, and the person that they're supposed to get the ball from is dependent on everybody else doing their job. So it's just like dependency on dependency. Like it's just that's not good. So this class is and again, guys, we're not saying that they can't
turn it around. They're not even need to turn it around. They need a comeback.
It's a lot that needs to happen in this class overall.
With DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for me on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day, and thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network, number one sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you. We got some rookie mini camp OTA stuff that we're trying to get into on tomorrow. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.